said, I'm going to take you over to my baby doll and explain to you where I believe NICU sets up, in a sense, the nystagmus. I have not seen any one of my clients. Now I say NICU, I know Stephanie's going to yell at me, but she had PICU time. So under 3 months of age, if you're in some sort of hospitalization, my concern is it, because I have not seen nystagmus in kiddos that haven't had hospitalizations. If you need to just shoot it more here, that's fine, because I'll just be talking. So what happens with the human eye in relationships to movement? Now, as you know, and if you don't know this, I have a really good video on your vision from birth to 1 month. And it's actually in English, French, and Spanish for those that need. But the eye is not a round ball, right? We have a part of our eye called the cornea that is enlarged off that ball. When a child is getting tummy time, let's say, and I'll put my little guy on his belly, right? One of the biggest significance that people don't realize with tummy time is the human eyeball now will respond to gravity, and the head will start countering gravity or counteropposing. This is really crucial in everything that we do, right? This is why tummy time is so important. That being said, you have to learn to evaluate your child. If your child, quote, doesn't like tummy time, or is environmentally not exposed to tummy time, which is what happens in the NICU. In the NICU, we are meant to save this child's life, period, the end, right? But I believe because they're in a box, sometimes a clear box, depth perception is off, the stimuli, they have lights on 24/7, beeps, buzzers, all of those kind of things do come into effect. Now, if I have a mass with gravity, right, and if you want to understand more of this, really the podcast is amazing. This is gravity to a mass. You get a pendulum. The body does not respond in pendulum-like movements for function. It counteropposes gravity. All of our formats, in a sense, are doing this. Now, when I go to throw a ball, my body needs to do this through the pelvis to get the ball to project, right? Now, this is why you're here, because again, I can say the pubic bone strike. Again, look at the pubic bone strike and the trajectory of the projection of movement. Whether it is my elbow. Now, an elbow doesn't format movement, right? But that's where movement comes from, right? And each child is different. Each person is different. The structure, right? This is where I'm going after the astronauts, because guess what? We're about to do a big spacewalk. And I can tell you right now, this mechanism is gone from the human body in space, right? So the first time that the body starts to expose itself to this oppositional movement is with breathing, is with the parietal bones in birth, is with the little fingers. But when the vision sets up, again, if I'm in tummy time, this baby is not sitting there. This is what I believe is nystagmus, right? The eye is actually not counteropposing gravity, and it's becoming affected by gravity. So every time you move, now I cannot take this ball because it's mass and do it this way, right? The human body can move within gravity 360 degrees. It is so apparent in vision, it's not even funny. But again, this is something you're only going to learn with Movement Lesson. This is where I'm trying to take you into this level of learning, because not that I'm tired of the diagnosis, but I'm tired of the lack of understanding of movement within the diagnosis. So I'm getting a little bit more outspoken, but again, it's for learning opportunities. So when a baby is getting tummy time, and my little baby, let's say, is going here, and this, the eyeball, because of the weight of the eyeball, will find gravity, fix off of it, and then the optic nerves or corpus callosum will move around the eyes, right? Does that make sense again? So again, instead of me doing here, my eyeballs are not shaking, because then I wouldn't have an absolute horizon. My eyes start to become, and so my corpus callosum, my optic nerves start moving around the eyes, right? And then from that, the rolling over comes into play and going in. This is what your human eye will do, or should do. So when a child does not get tummy time, when a child does not get those rolling over opportunities at 2.5 months to 3 months, not 7 months, okay? We are meant to develop a certain reason. I get it, they might roll over by 7 months. That's not optimal developmental movement for your infant. I'm about what's the best thing for your child, not wait and see. There's no reason to wait and see. Wait and see is also waiting to fail. And there's a fine line, and that happened to my Graham, of, oops, it didn't happen, he failed. When I could have been doing so much more. So when they're in the NICU, especially if they're here, now maybe they're doing brain cooling and all this, again, it's to save the life, but that's what's not setting up within not only the muscles, but the nervous system in relationships to gravity. So I do have the course, again, My Head and Vision, where you're starting to work with that child and reestablish those connections. Because again, if you can't oppose gravity and vision, that's what makes it very hard for your vertical skills, because you can't oppose gravity and vision or breathing. You're not going to oppose it without therapy in walking or, let's say, your vertical skills. So this is where you're coming in with those movement lessons, right? So I know many of you are using movement lessons for the touch, right? So can you bring it back to me? I know many of you are using movement lesson about the touch. The touch is crucial to movement lesson, that rotational touch. When you start doing the trainings or the courses that I'm providing, which are very topic specific to help you, that's where you're getting that information needed to affect the way the brain and the body processes movement. And that's what evolution is, that's what development is. Right? So I want you to consider that, again, having nystagmus and how to, quote, fix nystagmus. But those are the things you need to consider. And that's where also, so you can start working on it so much earlier than waiting for those other frustrations, because you're going to have issues with the heel coming down, pronating, and so forth. And I get it. A lot of people think it's because of the brain trauma or the genetics. They do come into play. But I want to also consider where the evolution is of the movement of the eye. And that's where, again, if the child is off with the way that they're processing these movements. So again, I'm talking to you like this. We don't think about it, but my eye and optic nerve are doing this the whole time. Now, if I have peripheral vision, right, again, see that anchor, that throw, versus when I say they're not crossing midline. Well, again, if they're not crossing midline here, later on when you're like, he can't throw a ball, he can't catch a ball. No, because he can't do it in the body, right? And so this is how why I like to see a video of how your child is processing these things. And from there, what is the best thing, the best avenue for your child to be successful?